Great morning, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good.
It was either the classroom or here, right? Yeah? So we say we winning today, right? So first of all, give yourself a round of applause, man. Please. Thank you. It is an honor to be here. It's been a long journey. One of the things that I want to start off with is that, I came across this information. In South Africa, there's this animal called the impala. It looks like a gazelle, right? The impala in its natural habitat, right? They are very active. They're able to jump 10 feet high, 300 feet, 30 feet long, right? So in their natural habitat around their family and friends, they're able to play. They challenge each other. They fight with these skills of being able to jump 10 feet high, 30 feet long. What's that again? 10 feet high, 30 feet long, right? 10 feet high, 30 feet long. And it's key why I keep saying that. Because what I came across was that when the impala gets captured and gets put in a zoo, the only thing they have around them is a 3-foot wall. Hold up. So I was like, in the natural habitat, you telling me you could jump 10 feet high, 30 feet long, but when you get captured or you're in an environment that you're not comfortable or it's something new to you, you stay stuck surrounded by a 3-foot wall. And I don't know if some of y'all are not connecting the dots, but what happens with a lot of us, your average individual, you see, we're born to do amazing things. We're human beings, and we're in a society, unfortunately, that information overwhelms our values. And so we get caught up with the rat race. We get caught up with comparison. And the impala, when it gets captured, and it gets behind a 3-foot wall, they don't jump or escape because they're more afraid to jumping over that wall because they can't see what's on the other side of it. So what keeps them confined to that area is that they don't know what's on the other side of the wall. You see, come to find out, the impala will only jump because if they know where they're going to land. Crazy. How many of you guys in this room right now are not leaping because you don't know where you're going to land? Let's raise some hands, please. I don't want this to be a Jorge sitting up here and I'm going to pound information on you. I'm going to save somebody's life today. I'm going to get you self-aware today. I'm going to put you in a state of mind that you're going to leave out of here like, yeah, we got to do better. You're God's gift of creation. You have the ability to do anything you want to do. But because we can't see what's going to be over that leap, we choose not to. You see, the biggest thing in life is that people are so afraid to lose. And they're so afraid to lose. They're so afraid of looking a certain way. They're so afraid of trying because the emotion of losing is so more powerful for them than not trying. I'm going to share this with you. This is why I've been so successful in life. And I come from nothing. I'm not afraid of losing. I've been losing all my life. How many of us been there? Finances, health, family, right? Life itself. One of the things that I really understood about that whole story with the impala is that it put me in a situation that I had to think like, Jorge, what are those areas that we're subconsciously avoiding? And we go through the course of the day. Because if you never knew, research says that we spend about 95% of our day in our subconscious. There's about an hour and 20 minutes that you're conscious during the course of the day. What does that mean, really? That means that as we were growing up, since we were in our mom's belly all the way to the age of 7, we already created what we call our characteristics. Our subconscious is already recording our surroundings. So our situation became who we are. Our surrounding becomes who we start representing. But what happens as you go through the youth, going into adulthood, you're not aware, keyword, aware of these things. So we create programs that allow us to go through the course of the day without realizing that we're doing certain things, and then we wonder why we get the same results over and over and over and over. How many of you guys got into the car, drove from one side of town to the other, got there, and then realized, wow, I'm already here? Right? Anybody experience that? That's what we call autopilot. That means you go through the course of the day, autopilot. You punch in, you punch out, you show up to school, you do this, it's autopilot. We need to disrupt that. For you to be self-aware of what the now is. Right now, everybody in this room is now. I might have one or two of y'all are still subconsciously thinking about something else. And that's why I raised my voice, so I could bring you back in. Now, the Impala story is so key because that runs facts in all our lives. You see, growing up, I come from welfare system. I come from no father in the household. My mother was in my life, but in and out, right? She had me at 15. All I know is being in a situation that we have to depend on government. All I know is that education was not a thing that we celebrated at home. Going to school, it wasn't something that was forced on me because it was generational brokenness. And so what I was being taught at home was totally different from what I was being taught at school. And so my reality, my environment, I felt like that became who I was. And for the longest, I did what? I was on autopilot. You get into this routine, whether it's dealing with drugs, whether it's dealing with bad influences in your life, whether it's literally not taking care of your personal, mental, physical self, spiritual, right? All these things take into place because I don't have no doubt that all of you guys are going to get to a point in life that you're going to be successful. I have no doubt with that. I told you in the beginning, we have the gift to become who we want to be. What I do have, my questioning is that how many of us are going to be able to stay there? Getting there is not the problem. It's staying there. And that's why I'm so heavy on character. I'm so heavy on just your making sure that you don't do things with your ego. Like, these are things that internally we're not aware of it, and day in, day out, we make decisions off of those emotions. By the time I was 13, you know, I was smoking weed. I was already hanging out in the streets. By the time I hit 15, I was already a full-blown gang member. I was already involved. I come from Bristol, Connecticut. A lot of you guys might recognize that town, that city, due to Aaron Hernandez. Anybody familiar with Aaron Hernandez in here? So Aaron Hernandez comes from Bristol, Connecticut. And I want to bring Aaron Hernandez just so you make the connection of what I call paralyzed mindset. You see, way before I got to put in a physical chair, I had a paralyzed mindset. Do you guys know what a paralyzed mindset would be? Better yet, what is paralyzed to you? Raise your hand. Anybody. The word paralyzed. Talk to me.
Unable to move.
Unable to move.
Just not getting anywhere.
Not getting anywhere. Can't feel. Right? Broken. Right? Numb. Right? And so way before I got put in this physical chair, I already had a paralyzed mindset. I was already paralyzed. I let my current situations, my upbringing, define who I was. And yeah, I seen drugs at the house. Yeah, I came from no education. But it's also a fact that there's a story out there that they talk about two twins. Father's an alcoholic. Right? How many of you guys heard this before? Father's an alcoholic. They asked one child, so what happened? Well, I see my father drink all his life, so I became an alcoholic. And then they asked the other twin, so what happened? Well, I seen what alcohol does to my father, and so I never touch alcohol. Perspective. And that has to happen once you set a point that you have to be conscious of what you're doing daily. You have to. And so by that time, by the time I was 15, I was in high school, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I was involved in the street activity. And because I couldn't, my 9th grade year, I couldn't finish playing football because my grades dropped, I made a decisions, right? And I walked out of that high school parking lot. And I never turned around and went back to school. 15, 9th grade dropout led me to 17-year-old getting caught with crack cocaine in Bristol, Connecticut. So now, at 17, there's been 2-year gap. What have I been doing for the last 2 years? Selling drugs, dealing with guns, involving myself with gang activity. And for the longest, I started living a life that I thought was definitely benefiting me. Because where I came from, that's what we glorify. That's what the thing was. And so, me living a life of being programmed, because that's really what it comes down to. We get conditioned to whatever our situation is. That led me to get caught with crack cocaine, Bristol courthouse, walking by the Bristol courthouse, stopped to talk to somebody. A couple minutes prior to me stopping to talk to them, they were playing with a cap gun, a fake cap gun. Somebody called and said that somebody had a gun in front of the courthouse. That led the sheriffs to come outside. They put all 3 of us on the wall. What did they find? They found crack on myself. That day I got arrested. 30 days after that, I had to go see the judge. Bristol, Connecticut courthouse. That day, I had to go see the judge, but I'm 17, so who has to come with me? My mom. You see, even though I thought I was grown, because I'm already doing grown things, I thought I had an S on my chest, but society tells you, no, you're not old enough to stand here in front of the judge and get sentenced. You still a minor. And that day I had to go with my mother, and as we enter the Bristol courthouse department, the police department's on the 1st floor. You go through the front door, you go up the stairs, the courthouse on top. On May 2nd of 94, I had my court date. As I go upstairs and I sit down and I could hear my mom, she's just telling me how disappointed and all that good stuff. I sit in there and I see a gentleman walking through a door, and I kind of glance over my shoulder and we kind of locked in our eyes. And he looked at me, he gave me that what's up look, I gave him that what's up look, because I told you for the last 2 years, what was I doing? I had this paralyzed mindset. I thought that violence cured everything. I thought that my lifestyle was going to get me to where I wanted to, right? And so I had this thing that you couldn't tell me anything. That particular situation turned out to the gentleman going and making a phone call. 4 other individuals showed up. Now I have 4 other individuals inside the courtroom, and they're throwing gang signs at me. And as they're throwing gang signs at me, my mom's telling me, Jorge, por favor, no, meaning, Jorge, please, not here. And you see, I felt disrespected because they were disrespecting my mother. But realistically, was it about my mother? I told you, my mother and I didn't really grow up like that. She was more like a sister. She was 15. My grandmother raised me. But that ego kicked in, like a lot of us. How many of you guys, a professor says something to you, a classmate says something to you, a husband, a wife, somebody says something and the ego kicks in and takes over automatically, and now you just start getting at you because you're an autopilot. And that particular situation turned into us being verbally arguing, and that verbal altercation turned into a physical altercation. So now we're fighting inside the courtroom. And I'm fighting with 4 dudes. Sheriffs come and grab not only me, all 4 of them, grabs my mother, and they're dragging us down them stairs. And I'm saying to myself, I said, Jorge, now it's about to get real. Right? Now, this is the next level, because they're dragging us down the staircases, right? So once you hit the bottom of the staircases, you take a right, you go into the courtroom, and then you take a left, you go into the police department, and then you take a left, you go outside. So mid going through the stairs, I'm saying to myself, I'm going to have to fight all 4 of these individuals inside that cell, because we're going to get arrested. We fought inside the courtroom, and they dragging all of us. Once we hit to the bottom of the staircase, and to my surprise, I'm thinking we're going to take the right and we're going to go into, where did they throw us? They throw us right outside. They told us, take it outside. Basically, you're all going to get warrants. As I start squaring off again, because obviously we're outside, they're going to fight, I got 4 individuals coming to me. I hear my mom on the far left, and she said, Jorge, pistola, meaning, Jorge, they got a gun. As I turn around, instantly I jumped in front of my mom. When the first bullet pierced through my body, that hot lead, it stopped me right in my tracks. When the second bullet pierced through my body, I heard myself say, Jorge, they're going to kill you. You see, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm in front of the police department, at the doorsteps of the police department courthouse. For my surprise, I didn't think my life was I didn't think I was going to be fighting for my life. I thought I was going to court. As I try to turn around and run into the courtroom, into the building, I collapse. And as I fall on my face, four more bullets pierced through my back. You see, me and my mother never really had a relationship. You see, me and my mother more like brothers and sisters. You see, my mom dropped me off my grandmother's house at the age of 3. But when her firstborn, her only boy, got gunned down on her feet, she urinated on herself. And I share this for you because this is the traumatic trauma that we all go through. A lot of us here have either been touched physically, abused verbally. We've gone through some things. And some of you are still holding on to certain things right now that happened 5, 10 years ago. That happened 15 years ago. That happened last week. And when you let people take control of your life, and you let anything or anybody get you out of character, you're giving the power to someone else. And I promise you, as I laid on that floor, all I kept telling myself was like, God, I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs. Am I dying? Am I dying? I wake up in the hospital. The first thing that happens is that I hear the doctor coming in, and he tells my family, he tells my grandmother, my mother, I'm sorry, man, but your son will never walk again. You see, I'm paralyzed from the waist down. But my question to you, I have a physical paralyzation. What is your mental paralyzation? What's keeping you right now from getting the grades you need? What's keeping you from doing what you need to do in your personal relationships? What's keeping you from blaming everybody else for your failures and not your success? Like, what's keeping you? What is that paralyzed mindset? Are you socializing too much? Are you just swinging by through this program? Are you just, you're making somebody else happy? You're here? Like, what is that? And we all have that. We're all a victim of some type of trauma or been around someone that has the trauma. And so once I heard that the doctor said that I would never walk again, I had to make a decision. I stood in the hospital at 17 years old with diapers, catheter. Anybody knows what a catheter is in here? 6 times a day, 7 times a day. For those that don't know what a catheter is a tube, plastic tube about this long that I have to use to put inside my private area into my bladder so I could release myself, so I could urinate. Due to that, I catch a lot of infections. So my life went from, what I just explained to now adding another layer of resistance. I had a choice, right? I could have sat there and I could have sat down and made a decision and say, you know what, I'm a paraplegic and this is what it is and I'm going to stay home and I'm going to collect the check. Would you be upset at me because I'm disabled and I'm at home collecting a check and being in a chair? Would you? You see, that's what societies look at us as disabled. And they expect us to do that. And I made a decision that I was no longer going to sit there and become a victim. I was going to become a victor. And that was a second chance of life. And as I sat there, and I'm not going to lie to you, I cried for the first 3 years. I cried. I felt insecure. I didn't think women would look at me. I felt as a man less than. I came from a background that you don't let nobody say or do anything to you, and if you do, you step to that. So that my life changed dramatically. And so now I'm dealing with a lot of what? Self-doubt. I'm dealing with a lot of shame, embarrassed. Embarrassed to be me. Embarrassed to show up in a room and have all these faces look at me. Embarrassed. And we all been there one time. And so when I made a decision that I said to myself, said, Jorge, no longer are we going to sit here and we're going to make excuses. And I had to make a decision. What does that look like for you, for Jorge? And so through that phase of me entering into a paraplegic lifestyle, right? My whole life changed. I had to learn how to not only live life completely, from the beginning to the end, the smallest details. Like, you don't understand, like, sometimes, like, I cry at times, right? When I'm sick and I have to urinate because I have to do a process. You could go to the bathroom, boom, 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 and you're in there. Everything I do, there's a process. We were kind of joking around about getting here on time. And we were talking about, making sure that somebody that's disabled, they get here on time because it takes us longer. Putting the chair in and out the car. Asking people for help. Like, this becomes degrading at times. Only if you're not in the right state of mind. Only if you let that subconscious kick in and you start doing things with emotion. And so in that day in the hospital, I made a decision. I said, I'm no longer going to sit here. And so for me to be able to get off this physical chair, I had to get rid of what? My mental chair. A lot of us have this mental chair in here. Some of us are dealing with some things right now. Some of us are getting to a point that it's overwhelming. Don't even know if we're going to come back next semester. Don't even know what that looks like. As I started transitioning into what my life looked like, I said to myself, Jorge, you know what? This is what we're going to have to do. So I created what I call my 4 Ds. I created my 4 Ds. I needed to create something. I needed to follow a pattern. I needed to find a way out of this nightmare. Broke. Not educated. Like, I had everything against me. No father, no male figure. When I got gunned down, guess what? Who was around me? Was all those homeboys around me? All those homegirls? Guess what? The people that I turned my back on, my grandmother and my mother, they were the only ones in that room for me. They're the ones that spending that in the hospital for a whole year for me to recover by the time I got out. And so sitting in the hospital, I was able to create my 4 Ds. The first one was make a decision. Decisions. A lot of you guys made a decision to come here today. And I salute you. You didn't have to come in. But anything to make sure till you get to the next level is what we need to do. And the comfort, when we get too comfortable, that becomes a disjustice to you. And so once I sit there and I say, Jorge, what's next? I'm a paraplegic. I can't do education. It's not my thing. I'm a 9th grade dropout. I decided to become a barber. And in the case of becoming a barber, it started all over again. Now I'm in barbering school. What does that look like? How many of you guys, for the first time, came into this campus, whether you're from Worcester or outside of Worcester, and it was a little overwhelming with everything? Information-wise, just getting comfortable, right? Sometimes you go into a class, you're either the younger one or you're the older one, right? I mean, there's always something, right? And I promise you, in the midst of me finding myself, I had to put myself through a stretch, and I had to really challenge myself. And so when I went to barbering school, everybody laughed at me. And when I'm telling you, like, not like ha ha ha, but like, you for real? You're gonna go to barbering school? How many of you guys get that? You for real? You're gonna go get your PhD? You for real? You're gonna, like, you know you can't do nothing with a degree nowadays. Why are you going to college? You hear all this nonsense. But people like to put their insecurities on you. What they're scared of. And I just kept telling myself, Jorge, you don't got nothing to lose. See, I refuse to lose. I told you I've been losing all my life. And the only way you're going to lose is if you don't try. That's it. Because if you take a loss and you take that as a learning step, you're better off than what you were yesterday. And so I signed up, went through the course, and I started the program. I was the only minority in there. What do I mean by I was the minority in there? Was that a skin color thing? No. I was the only handicap inside the room. You see, barbering and cosmetology is done by individuals being able to cut behind the chair standing up for hours. So they couldn't see my vision of how I was going to be able to dominate my space from a chair. And so there was a particular moment that changed my whole life. There was a particular moment that this is why I'm here in front of you. My first haircut in that classroom, in that clinic floor, I was supposed to cut a client. The client walked up to me. I introduced myself, my instructor's with me, and he laughed at me because the instructor said that I was going to be cutting his hair. He looked at my chair. He looked at me and was like, yo, how you going to cut my hair, man? You see where I come from? I would have physically approached it that. Because he did what? He disrespected me. He literally, when I tell you, ever had, you see I'm caramel complexion is what I like to call it, right? You never heard that, right? Caramel complexion. But you could see the redness in my face when he said that. And as dark as I am, I turned red because he embarrassed me. And in that moment, it was crucial. Why? Because instantly, subconsciously, this is where I'm talking about being self-aware. I wanted to grab the pair of clippers and bash him aside the head. I'm processing him like I'm already visualizing how I'm gonna do it. Boom, and as he's still doing his little, I don't know if he's gonna come out here, I'm looking, I'm like. My instructor, she puts her hand on my shoulder, she said, I got this. And she said, well, listen, if you're not gonna let this young man cut your hair, you can never come back here, and nobody else gonna cut your hair besides him. At that moment, I'm shaking. I'm shaking. When I tell you I'm shaking, remember I told you I'm dealing with the wheelchair. I'm dealing with being insecure. I'm dealing with not fitting in. I'm dealing with, like, what is this? People staring at you. And I'm over here like, yo, what you looking at? They're just wondering if they could help, right? They didn't mean no disrespect. But all these emotions inside of me, that was a what? Ticking time bomb. In that particular moment, when my professor, my instructor at the time stepped in, I did one of these. Gave him his cut. You know I gave him the special cut though, right? And I finished the haircut. And all I could remember was saying, wow, Jorge, this is going to be the pivot of what your life is going to look like. If you was able to get through that moment and make a decision to really not let anybody or anything get you out of track, now we winning. And so once I took that, I said, oh. So what we have to do is just really be the bigger person, right? And that's tough for a lot of you guys right now. But that's why you're still in the same situation. That's why you continue doing the same cycle. That's why you continue getting the same results. And until you do that shift in your mind and get rid of that mental paralyzed way of thinking, it's going to keep you stuck. It's going to keep you numb. It's going to keep you from not getting to the next level. And it's not going to matter whether you get a degree or not because it's within inside of yourself. Does that make sense? So as I sat there and I really started, I went through the process. I became a licensed barber. So now my next thing was like, Jorge, you have to make sure that this counts. Because now that I got through school, did I know I was going to get a job? Did I know I was going to be able to really do anything with this barbering? Because realistically, I got into a space that I was just trying to see what I could make out of nothing. You ever been there? Walls are closing in. Not too many decisions. Not too many options. It becomes one of those things that you have to be very intentional on how you position yourself to be able to get to the next level. And if you're not intentional, it's one thing that you're going to do is waste time. It's something that we don't get back. Let's not chase the money. Let's not chase anybody. Let's not chase anybody else. Let's chase ourselves. And when you start understanding that, you start positioning yourself in a way that not only you create value in other people's life, it's the game changer. And so at that point, I had to be, my next word, letter is D, is determined. I had to be determined. Because you graduating out of here with a degree, that makes you a professional? Yes, no? No. Like this is the first layer. Now you got to do what? Now you got to be determined. What does that look like? You got a lot of money to pay back. You got a lot of things that you need to do to be able to get to that. And that was my thing now. Now I'm being determined. So now I'm thinking of people, okay, you got a license, so where are you going to go to work? What you going to do? How you going to do this? And I was so determined to do what? I was so determined never to go back to where I came from. Like, I refused to get back into that mindset. I refused to really get into a space that mentally I'm letting my thoughts take the best of me. A lot of us are our worst enemy. We talk about haters. We talk about people don't like us at work. People don't like us at school. People stop. Look in the mirror as soon as you wake up. Look in your eyes. And right before you say your affirmations, because every morning you should be telling yourself you're a queen, you're a king, you're the best there is, because nobody else is going to tell you this. You have to give yourself affirmations. You have to remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing. You have to mentally, I call it brainwash, right? Like, remind yourself you're handsome, you're beautiful, you're intelligent, you're God's gift to creation, right? You are very special. You're here for a purpose. There's a purpose why you're here. And so once I started really understanding that I had to be determined, that turned into me becoming not only a licensed barber, but opening my own barbershop. As of right now, I've had my barbershop for 16 years. As of right now, I've been a master barber for 20 years. You see, I'm not just a master barber. I'm a dual license. I have actually all the licenses in the industry. I am a cosmetologist, instructor, and stylist. I am a master barber and barber instructor. I've been part of the Massachusetts Barbering Board. You see, this 9th grade dropout. You see, when I told you I was going to be determined, I was determined to make sure that I start creating the right habits and eliminating the wrong triggers so I could get to that next level. And so I understood that it wasn't the physical part, it was more the what? The mental. You physically get here every day, but are you here every day? How many of you guys struggle with that? It takes practice, right? It takes self-awareness. It takes alignment. It takes acceptance. But in the midst of that, when we're trying to be better than what we are, we lose who we are. See, being authentic to who you are is key. Somebody would have think that me coming to QCC, I was going to throw a shirt and a tie, throw the hat away. That's who I am. I come from that. I'm not going to change who I am in the sense of that I'm going to feel like I got to put a shirt and tie to impress anybody into a room. But what I do know is that as I better myself, I do understand that it's not about changing who you are, but it's meeting people where they're at. And that's a game changer. You see, I'm in a space in my life right now that I believe in creating value in people's life. Period. In the midst of me being determined, not only I became part of the Massachusetts Barbering Board, I'm state evaluator. So I dominated the barber industry and cosmetology industry. After 20 years, I promise you on everything I love, those same individuals, they laughed at me 20 years ago. They're coming up to me talking about, Jorge, all right, how you do this? How you talk to me? Advice. Now, you think I turn around and ignore them? No, I create value in them. I put people on. Even though you laughed at me, I'm going to show you how to be a better human being. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you actually take the limitations off yourself. You see, they couldn't see me being able to dominate a barber industry, beauty industry, because I couldn't stand up. And as right now, they can't talk in Worcester or in Massachusetts about barbering without mentioning my name. So my thing to you is this: how determined are you? Not only to get your degree, but go out there and applying it in a way that not only you're creating value in everybody else, but your life as well. Like, what are those intentions? And once you get to that point, once I got that I had the shop, I got the degrees, I had all the licenses, I had to dominate this. Right? My third D, dominate. Like, how many of you guys right now are dominating everything in front of you? No? I love the transparency. Thank you. No, this is not, yo, listen. I'm here to tell you, as disabled I am, I run circles around a lot of people because it's all heart. I refuse to lose. I'm not the smartest. I'm not the one that has a degree, but guess what? I'm a 9th grade dropout, right? But guess what? I decided that, Jorge, you don't like how you look. You're a paraplegic. You don't like being in a chair. So I said, you know what? How can I make this wheelchair thing look sexy? Y'all think I'm playing. This is the thoughts in my head. How can I make this wheelchair look sexy? I told you guys I had problems accepting that girls didn't even look at me, right? I had, again, all this thing that goes into our heads and it keeps us from growing. From growing. Yeah. And it's so much easier for us to just be like, oh, stop. They don't have that power over your life. You give them that power of your life. You're the one that every day sit there and complain about how your day is. Every time I say, how you doing? How's your day? Hey, how you doing? Say, every day? Like every day? No, hold on. So, hey, how you doing? That energy is contagious. That energy is what you bring to the table. And then it's so easy for you to just say, why I'm not winning? Why? Because I'm come from how fortunate it would be to have money. How nice it would be to be able to have options. But you're not giving yourself the options. You're not doing what it needs to take to be able to get to the next level. For you to be able to dominate, not only you have to be self-aware what that situation is, but you really have to get uncomfortable. How many of you guys right now are getting uncomfortable? You getting uncomfortable?
In school right now, yeah.
And are you winning?
I think I'm doing okay.
You should, listen, that's what it is. Because when you're not comfortable, that means something's changing. That means you're putting yourself in environments that you're stretching. You see, if I would have sat here for 20 years and say, oh, yeah, I can't walk, I wouldn't be in front of you. And what certifies me to be here in front of you and be able to share this? Because I lived it. I know what it is to get gunned down. I know what it is not to have a father. I know what it is to be broke all my life. I know what it is to be in an abusive family. I know what drug abuse is. We could make a list, but I'm not sitting here comparing narratives with you. Because if we actually all write our problems down on a piece of paper and throw it on the floor, and you pick up somebody's problem, you might want your problems back. Oh yeah, let me say that again. If we take a piece of paper, write our problems down, throw them on the floor, you might want your problems. But we're so accustomed to becoming victims that it's easy. It's easier becoming a victim than a victor. Because when you be a victor, you can't make excuses. Something happens and you say, you know what, Jorge? We're still gonna win. And I'm here to tell you that no matter what my life is, where I come from, where I'm at now, but there's always gonna be a where I'm going. It never stops. It never stops. So what's the whole concept of me talking to you today? The whole concept of me talking to you today is to really self-aware. What is your wheelchair? We all have a mental wheelchair. Are you lazy? Do you have the I don't care syndrome? I don't care. Are you dealing with some depression? Is finances the thing? We all have that thing, but we're not going to win until you identify it. What was my biggest wheelchair, mental wheelchair, for me to get to where I was to where I'm at right now? Was my ego. As I tell you my story, I keep going back to connecting what? I didn't like how this person said this. I didn't like how I was growing up. It was all ego. Your ego will get the best of you. Will get the best of you. And if you didn't hear that, I'm going to say it again. It will get the best of you. So today we're going to identify, what is my wheelchair? What is that one thing? That one thing. Before I go any further, can somebody share that one thing? What is your which? I told you it was my ego. We family here, right? Let's talk. What is that one thing? I have about 15 minutes. What is that one thing? Talk to me.
Procrastination.
Procrastination. That's a mental, that's real. We all go through that. And the reason that you procrastinate, right, in general, is because that most likely is not on your top tier. So whatever you procrastinate is just not that important. So we need to reevaluate that and look at it in a way that it's like, okay, if I don't do this, I don't, and that should override any procrastination. Because whenever you want to go out and have a good sunny drive like 2 days ago, did you procrastinate to get in the car and take a ride? No. Right?
I'd say self-pity.
Self-pity, yeah. That's big. That's big. Give me two more, guys.
I struggle with like consistency.
Consistency. Start, stop, start, stop.
Yeah.
You see, let me share this with you. When it comes to, I study human behavior, right? And in this room, there's four type of folks in here. I'm gonna break them down for you, and I'm gonna go just to connect the dots for you, right? First individual, the dimension of someone that how they tend to interact with, deal with decisions and deal with problems. There's some of y'all that are so task orientated in here that you're all about the execution that you lack the relationship part. Y'all so focused, y'all don't care what you cut through, how you cut it through. That's what turns you on. That's what gets you wired up. It's solving problems, executing. And if you're not at that level, if you're not in the driver's seat, then that's a problem for you. The second one is what we call your interactive, right? A lot of you guys are all about, some of you guys are more about the, how you say it, the experience. Meaning, y'all want to go to school to socialize, y'all want to throw some bright colors, y'all want to go in there, be in the class, say hi, like the whole experience of just going to school, going to work, right? Like that's a lot of us, the distractions. Those individuals, on and off. Why? Because there's always the next best thing. Oh, I got an idea. And then when you do an idea and you're in the midst of that, something else pop up and be like, oh, I got to start this. And so that's where the stop and start comes in. You didn't even finish this, but because this was so distracting and shiny, you're going to come over here. So that's where we get that. Then there's those that are more, and those two that I first mentioned are extroverts. Then you have the other two that are introverts. You have individuals that are all about relationship. They're more about the, I don't want to be in front of the room. I'll support you, however you want me to support you. How can I help you? Very supportive, a supportive cast. And you prefer to be at the supportive cast, but then you wonder why you're not executing at a high level and why you're not winning. Because you prefer to be in the back. And then you have those individuals that are very calculated, analytical. Everything you do is all about details. And if it's not at a level that is a perfectionist level, then you are besides yourself. The rules are there to follow. Rules are there to follow. Talk to me.
Time management.
Time management. It's one of your things, right? That's huge for all of us. Now, one thing that I wanna really touch on. We talked about what are those mental wheelchairs. How are we gonna address those things moving forward for today? And I wanna tell you that in life, once you're intentional and you address something, it's a game changer. If you leave this room and you continue those things that we spoke on and you don't address them, that's gonna be haunting you and it's gonna be over your head and it's not gonna allow you to grow to the next level. I never doubt anybody, like I showed you physically, like how I went through a program, became a master barber, not just a barber, but I ran the state. It's all here. It's all here. But the minute that you find yourself of not addressing this situation, you're gonna find yourself always have to deal with those situations. And so my last D was, I need you to walk forward. I need you to kick the chair. I need you to be able to walk forward. I need you to really understand, the destiny of what your life is. Before I connect with that, let's talk about Hernandez real quick. Like Aaron Hernandez, I come from the same high school he came from. Aaron Hernandez, right? Like, how many of you guys know about Aaron Hernandez? He's in, what was it, $40 million, right? He actually went to jail for killing 3 people, or accused of killing 3 people, convicted of 1. You see, I grew up in that environment. A lot of people, when Aaron Hernandez's situation came across, they couldn't even see it. They're like, yo, how he could, I knew he did it. Kayla knows, right? This is my wife, guy, by the way. I apologize. As you see, I made the whole wheelchair thing look sexy, right? So no longer I have women problem, right? But realistically, that's what it came down to. And Aaron Hernandez, unfortunately, had a health issue, because I don't know if you've seen the documentary that came out, and it was very, like, you could see that health-wise, he was definitely going through that situation. But the mindset was there from the beginning. The mindset was there from the beginning. And so that's a perfect example of how your decision design your destiny. You decide how your destiny is going to look like. I know in my shoes, I was not going to end up like Aaron Hernandez. That was a tragic on all around. His kid, his wife, the lost folks that we had that they killed, like all around, wasted. And I said to myself, I will walk into my destiny. So I want you to leave today and think about what is that mental wheelchair you have. And then I want you to really address it. Address it, right? I told you guys I can't feel half of my body. I'm paralyzed from the waist down. To this day, I'm on my 25 years of being a paraplegic, going on 26. Like, this has been my life. And they told me 25 years ago that I would never walk again. You see, you let people tell you what that looks like. You let people tell you what their insecurities are. You let people tell you what your life should look like, and you're gonna stay stuck with that mental paralysis if you don't really find your way. And I want to show you here physically what it looks like when you take no for an answer, when you refuse to lose, when you decide that you're gonna get that mental wheelchair and kick it to the side, and kick it. Because once you get rid of those, we're gonna move on to crutches. We're gonna move on to walkers. We're gonna move on to bigger things. Eventually, we're gonna walk without anything, right? Start today. But I wanna leave you with this, right? 25 years, they told me I would never walk again. 25 years, they told me. 20 years ago, they told me I would never be a barber. Just recently, I just finished my first book. I'm not a great dropout. And obviously I went back and I got my GED, guys. Right? Education is so powerful. Applied education is so powerful, right? Information. I went back on my GED, guys. 10 years in business, and they were like, people were like telling me, look at this, look how crazy. Why are you gonna get your GED? You're making a lot of money. I was like, why not? But you gotta go out of my circle, because if you just said that, you don't even belong around me. That's it, I don't play around with this no more. And a lot of you guys are playing around with your circles, your surrounding information, music you listen to. Like, you can't not play with it. You cannot play. You listen to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, I could kill this, that, and then you wonder why you're always mad. I don't get it. You're programming yourself the wrong way. Self-aware. And I promise you, this is what it looks like. I'm gonna leave you with this. You have the power. I physically am showing you what it looks like. I'm physically showing you. I'm not just coming here textbook telling you. I live this life. Every day of my life, I'm always sick. There's always something about me that it has to occur. I wear diapers to this day at times. I have to wear catheters. My life is not easy. None of our lives are easy. But when you sit there and you refuse to lose, this is what it looks like. Let's go. I love y'all. Let's keep pressing. Let's go out there and become the better version of ourselves. Do me a favor. 2020, Let's make it epic. All right? Let's go.